We're being faced with a lot of questions. Is homosexual okay? Is transgender okay? Is LGBT okay? All of these questions are coming before us in recent days. And although governments feel that they can tell you what's legal or right to be or feel or do, we have a higher obligation to follow what God tells us to do or not do, and what is sin or not. And beyond that, it's pure and utter blasphemy before God to try to say that we can actually change someone from being a man into a woman or a woman into man. You might be able to perform a surgery where you give somebody an organ that's been donated, and they have a new heart, and they have new blood, and they have a new foot or a new kidney or a new finger. Certainly, man has been blessed by God with the knowledge and ability to perform surgeries, which in the old days used to be primarily surgeries out of necessity to save from loss of life. And we have become so distorted in our own thinking that we now have pushed those limits and pushed those limits into bizarre and abominable areas. God says these things are abominations unto him. And if you want to be truthful, the surgeries and such have absolutely nothing to do with what you feel like you are or want to be inside of your heart. It has to do with an agenda that's been pushed as far as blaspheming against God and not wanting anyone to tell us what are the barriers, what is a sin or not a sin, what is right and what is wrong, what is black and what is white. Everybody wants everything to be gray. There's this total push for accepting everything, anybody, and it's just gone extremely too far, actually. 10, 20 years ago, we used to have certain rules when training animals, for example. And we would give a child a crib, we would give a puppy a dog house, and it was scientifically and absolutely accepted across the board that certain barriers and restrictions and walls and things provided a sense of comfort, a sense of knowing that the owner of that puppy or the parent of that little baby felt comfortable and secure in knowing where the boundaries were, what the consequences, punishments, pain, or other things would be for violating the rules. Certainly, we know that if we jump off the roof of a house, gravity is going to provide us with the punishment to remind us that we can't do those things without injuring ourselves. Every child got lectures about not touching a hot stove so that you wouldn't get burned, about learning how to swim so that you wouldn't drown, about how to cross the street so that you wouldn't get hit by a car. Now, we know that all of our actions carry consequences, and that our laws are supposed to protect ourselves and our community and our very society from being injured by others. Well, as anyone who's ever been near or in an abusive situation knows, injuries come from a variety of avenues. It's not just breaking a hand or a foot. It's psychological damage. It's persecution. It's an angry mob marching down your street. It's martial law pulling down the driveway, and you have a fear of the troops and the tanks meandering on by. These things are psychological terrors of battle. When there's threats made, when there's security that's threatened, it certainly scares people. and is a psychological battle against them. So we need to understand that these rules and such are important for safety and for that feeling of security. And in the same way, so are those rules that we received as a child. So is that puppy more comfortable when he has his own little doghouse and his own little fenced yard. So is that kitten driven to find its little pillow or its little poofy bed when it goes to sleep. Those walls and those cushions that we position ourselves against provide us with security and knowing that we can have the confidence to go to sleep and be in peace and to wake up rested and refreshed and confident and secure. So when we take down all of the laws, all of the rules, all of the barriers, we find ourselves with a society that is pushing further and further and further to more extremes. Not because they like those extremes, but because they haven't found the cushion, the wall, the fence, the puppy cage. They haven't found that element of you can go to these limits and rest up against them and know that this is the end. You don't have to push further. These are where my dictates are. These are where my comfort levels are. These are where I'm going to run around this half acre of dirt and know that it's mine and I can pee everywhere to mark my territory. These are the things that go through a puppy's mind and help make them feel secure. It's the boundaries, the rules, and the limitations. And God has set down for us such rules and limitations, one of the most famous being the Ten Commandments. But God told us as soon as in Genesis, man and female created I them. He didn't say it or partial or confused. And there have been extremely rare circumstances in life where there have been, both genitalia on a human born and such like that. Sometimes that's caused by mistakes or errors in the genes. And certainly we're blessed when we're born and we do have 10 fingers and 10 toes and everything is normal. That word normal came about because we know what the norms are supposed to be. We know what the dictations of creation are supposed to be. We're not even getting into the issue of drugs, alcohol, things that happened in a hereditary or gene past that may have contributed to some of those deformities. But all in all, by and by, it's man or woman. And that's how we're created. Now, in the makeup of a man or a woman, you have other things that are involved. And that's why everybody in the world agrees that before any of the people are allowed to do sex surgeries and such, they are committed to a period of recommended psychological counseling to find out what's wrong, to find out if there isn't, say, a childhood rape or abuse involved that's making that person try to run to an extreme or get an extreme attention or run away or to the identity of the person that harmed them. Certainly we see this in kidnap situations where the person under so much period of time of captivity all of a sudden feels a connection or love, they think, towards that person, or contacted or written or even married the person in prison who harmed them. These are bizarre things which are done out of certain areas of our psyche being damaged. And that's why psychological counseling is recommended before anyone attempts a sex change surgery. Now, beyond that, we have our brain, how we were made up, the memories and cells and genes and instructions that we are born with that came from everyone in our family tree, everyone in our family's past. And certainly, even discluding any of those factors, there are many, many, many millions of books written over the years as far as the psychological differences of men and women. And most of these, the majority if not all, are from our makeup as being created a man or woman. Things that we don't understand, like the essence of why scientists cannot copy the essence of vitamin D in milk. Well, they've given us vitamin D pills for years, but they're now just finally admitting that there's just something magical, some essence in milk that scientists cannot copy. And it's the same with being a man or woman. There's certain things in our brain, in our psyche, in our very internal being that we can't put our finger on, but is different in a man and in a woman. Hence the book. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's just widely recognized. Men and women are absolutely different. And because of this, we come into dictates that have been in our humanity for ages and ages and ages about the roles of men and women in leading, supporting military and other positions to fit the jobs of what we're looking for with the psychological makeup of whether a man or a woman's being would be more suited to that particular position. So you can have surgery to put something on, you can have surgery to take something off, but you can't change the gene chain in your family. You can't change that essence that God has put into a man or a woman. You can't change your brain, and you can try to, change, attach, or delete or those organs, but those have absolutely very, very little to what it means to be a man or a woman. So, in finishing, I would like to say that a person's rights, under what the government says is their right to give, which I don't believe is true, but that's another subject. They may say that those persons who wish to change their sexual orientation is their right, given to them by some government or not, but those rights don't impose upon the God-given dictates that God has given to me to force me to say that person is now a man, that person is now a woman. In the 10 Commandments, we see the commandment not to lie. And you can change your clothes, and you can change your organs, and you can change your hairstyle, but you still are what God created you, and I won't be forced to lie and to turn my back on God and to commit a sin by saying, he's now she, she's now he. They're still a man or they're still a woman. They're exactly what God created them, which really brings us back end circle to the beginning. The only reason why we're going against God and his dictates and claiming that we want to be something else is so that we can create blasphemy against God and say, I am now over the dictates of what God has given me. And so the person and the doctor both cannot say that they have made themselves above God. That is what Lucifer did when he was thrown out of heaven. We cannot become a god. We cannot recreate ourselves. We cannot say, God created this person and we can recreate them too. It's blasphemy against God and it's a lie. So you can be free to be whatever you want to be. Just don't ask me to commit a lie to say that the creation which God created has changed, or that a human is now above God to claim that they're changed, or a doctor to say that they changed and created a new creation. Only God can create life. Only God can take life away. I hope this helps. You're all free to be whatever you want to be. Just don't ask me to sin against my God, because I am very interested in going to heaven and sitting on his lap and holding a benevolent and wonderful God someday. Thank you all. God bless.